listening to the Uncommon Life Podcast. Whether you're a startup or you've been in business for 10 years, this show is for you. Each week, you'll get mentored by business leaders who deliver valuable strategies, tactics, and tips on how you can pursue your passion without compromise. We'll show you how to achieve balance while sticking to your core values so you can have an uncommon life. Now, here's your host, Jimmy Fullerton.
All right, this is episode 15 of the Uncommon Life Podcast. And I just want to take a minute before I go into this week's episode to just thank everybody for the encouragement, the positive responses and feedback I've gotten. And I know everybody's lives have been altered in a major way. Your routines have been just completely, obliterated. And anyway, it just means a lot that you're listening right now. So I do appreciate it and certainly do not take it for granted. So on this week's episode, I'm talking with Chasen Perry. He's the owner of Impact Performance RX in Columbus, Georgia. They are a sports performance training center, and they have had quite a lot of success in the first 2 years. They have produced 45 scholarship athletes, 3 baseball state championships to their credit. It was the first year each team won their first state title. They currently have a lot of people right now. I don't have a number, but it's definitely double digits of people in the NFL, Major League Baseball, XFL, and CFL. And once again, all this in just 2 short years. Now, in part 1, Chasen shares his background, kind of gives you his story, how he came to be doing what he's doing, and why he's doing it, and how he's achieved such great success in a short period of time. So there is a lot of good information in here, especially when he goes into his social media strategy and some of the things he's learned. But anyway, without further delay, here it is. Chasen, tell us a little bit about Impact Performance RX, your company.
So Impact Performance RX is I don't like to use the word gym. We're a training center. And we obviously, if you think common terms, we're gym, but we cater to athletes specifically, but we do general population as well. So I come from college and pro sports. That environment's hard to replicate. And I think if people were exposed to that more, they would really get into it because it's just a different kind of environment when you work with D1 college athletes and pro athletes, which are different in themselves. But I wanted to kind of bring that to the general population and then also be able to do stuff, getting kids into fitness at a young age all the way through adults.
Yeah. So your overall vision when you started was you said the environment was different.
Yeah. It's, I think we put more of an emphasis on like structure and like teaching fundamentals. And it's, when you go to work out, I think everybody needs to always ask themselves, are you teaching people a movement or are you teaching people how to move? And that's where we're a little bit different. We teach people how to move. So it's not just weightlifting. There's mobility, stability, balance. There's, explosive work, speed and agility type stuff. You take a lot of the general population through adults, and there's a lot of programs that they'll go run 400 meters and a mile or 2 here or there. Like we'll do ladder drills and agility drills and reaction drills and stuff like that. And I think just bringing that up tempo pace has made people really kind of fall in love with what you do as an athlete. And it's honestly a little bit better of a workout.
Yeah. So what your background is, what was your background before you got into this?
Undergrad in exercise science, master's degree in strength and conditioning from West Virginia University. I was a graduate assistant at WVU, worked back 06, 07. So I was there when we were a top 5 team in the country. We were...
Where was this?
West Virginia University, WVU. So I'm a Mountaineer.
I'm not going to hold that against you.
Yeah. I'm from Ohio, so I'm still Buckeye, like in my blood, but
I won't hold that against you either. You're in SEC territory here.
But I still love my Mountaineers.
Yeah.
No, so I did that. I worked in the NHL with the Atlanta Thrashers. That was actually in between undergrad and grad school back in 06. Went to grad school 07 to 09, and then did my master's there. Then I moved to Cincinnati, where I was in the private sector for a little bit.
In what capacity?
So actually, this would be my second business down here. I owned a training center. I'm not going to get into how that started because that would be a whole podcast on that business.
Yeah.
But I kind of replicated what we had up there here. I owned a franchise. It was a pre-C speed school franchise. And when I came in, we were able to, it was pretty stagnant for 2 years. I tripled the capacity in 6 months, took over it, bought a softball school that was going out of business, and then took our facility, our franchise there, and then expanded to that. Sold my shares of that and then took a job with SOCOM. And that's what brought me to Columbus, Georgia, working for Special Forces Unit.
Okay. Special Forces Unit.
I was the director for a SOCOM unit for 7 years.
Okay. I didn't know that was part of what you did.
That's what brought us to Columbus. So I worked on Fort Benning for 7 years. You know, my wife, we had kids here. We started settling in.
So that was actually what brought you to Columbus, Georgia, was the training of the special ops.
Yep.
Okay.
And then when we had our first son, Grant, I took him to gymnastics when he was 2 or 3, and I went on and I started doing research because I knew what we had in Cincinnati. We started our kids at 7, and I started thinking, what are we going to do with Grant when he gets to that age? Because I want that same type of program that, you know, working with the youth athletes and the stuff that we do with them. Really, with that age group, our 7 to 10-year-olds, it's more about teaching, you know, we gamify their training. We make it fun. Like, it's about getting into movements, body weight stuff. It's a lot, you know, teaching them how to run, not just running drills. We went from taking him to gymnastics to researching and going online. And I realized there was a need in the market here because nobody was doing it. So I told my wife that I'm going to leave my job and open up a business here. And here we are.
So what you wanted was to teach about being a well-rounded athlete. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah. Use athletics as a platform.
Yeah. So what were some of the biggest challenges you faced when you were trying to get it off the ground here?
And everything is always a challenge when you're a business owner.
Give me the top 3 or the first one. Let's start there. See how long that goes.
Probably the first thing was having to go back before I had partners. Now I'm a sole proprietor. So I had partners to help with a lot of stuff that I didn't really get to learn on the business side that first time. That, you know, you just have to kind of make your mistakes and learn from them.
Your specialty was, in that regard, was not the business side. It was the training.
It was the training, and I probably the sales portion of it, like building the program. That side, that's what I like to do, is the infrastructure of how it runs, but the administrative side I had to get better on.
So you're operational in that regard. As far as business goes, you're more of an operational person.
Yep.
The administrative is what you probably needed more assistance with.
Yeah, I'm not a sit at a desk and, like, you know, do QuickBooks and files and things like that. I'd rather be out talking to people, building relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you had partners. Initially. So what happened?
Well, in Cincinnati, I did.
Okay. So when you came down here, you were a sole proprietor. It was just you.
Yep. And from having partners before, I wanted to be a sole proprietor this time.
What'd you do to compensate for the administrative part that you did not like doing and weren't very strong at?
You know, a lot of Google searching, like reading, just educating myself on it, and, you know, trying to find, obviously talking to people.
Self-education.
I'm very good at self-educating.
Yeah.
Like I'm
That's
better.
The wave of the future, I think, man. Self-education. There's so much information out there. All you got to do is look for it. It's there.
Yeah. We have so much access to information now. Did you know the human capacity, like IQ, is like 8 points higher than what it was 60 years ago just because of the internet?
Really?
Yeah. People think it's making us stupider because we don't know how to research through books and things and look stuff up, but it's actually not. Like, our ability to access information so much faster that we're actually getting smarter from it.
This is a rabbit trail, but I'm so interested in this because I think I want to park there for a second just to see what your thoughts are on this. I mean, as far as capacity goes, I get what you're saying, but what about attention span? What I've noticed, and I can see this in myself sometimes, if I spend too much time looking at my phone or being not focusing on one specific activity, I feel like I lose my powers of concentration unless I'm real intentional about it. What do you think about that? How it's affected us?
I'm kind of, maybe I'm biased because I am ADD.
Yeah.
And, I come from a background where I grew up, and when I got into this field is because I have Tourette syndrome, and not being able to control my movements made me want to learn more about the human body and movement in itself. And I started off in physical therapy. And then when I found strength conditioning, I kind of fell in love with it. Being a high school athlete and college athlete, that was more my thing. So I think that I've always worked better like that, a weight room to me with a lot of moving pieces. And I'm more comfortable in an environment where there's 50, 60, 80, 100 people all multitasking and doing stuff because it's organized chaos.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. My attention span's never been good sitting in front of a computer. So I don't know if I can really answer that one.
It's the way you're wired. I get it. I mean, yeah, you function better in that kind of environment. Your brain thrives in that.
Yeah. I can be more creative with it too. Like I look at business and the infrastructure of it and kind of how to building the processes, like I love the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And my favorite scene when he's like telling the guys, like, here's our plan. And we got this math guy and Jonah Hill's whole process that he's going through.
I love that role he played. Yeah. That was really, I loved hearing them have that dialogue, and the way they thought was so different and so unconventional compared to what everybody else was doing. They were going in a different direction. Like, that's one thing I like about that movie so much.
Yeah, I think it kind of proved that, we can use math and science and stuff like that. I think obviously math way more than that, but Brad Pitt says a line like, it's a process, it's a process, it's a process. And I think what a lot of people struggle to do is they have an idea and they think they know how to get there, but they don't know how to build multiple processes to get there. They get so one-tracked with it that sometimes in business you have to detour a little bit. As long as you still are trying to go in the same like your end game's still the same, but they don't know how to detour off that original plan. They don't know how to adapt and overcome and being adjustable. And that's kind of what a strength coach does. Like, we're constantly making adaptations to stuff.
In business, you have to do that, especially today with all the changes that constantly come at you. You have to be able to do that on a regular basis. If you get too comfortable, you're going to wind up and something bad is going to happen. You're going to get behind your competition, or your business is going to fail. I mean, in this day and age, you just have to be able to adapt and that's why I think collaboration is so important, to be able to know other people, not just in your industry or your sector, whatever it is, but also people that are outside of it or maybe complementary to it. So you can kind of get an ear to what's going on out there. What else is going on outside of your particular area of expertise to kind of help you get an idea about where you might need to go, like what direction should you go based on all the other stuff that's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you had to basically self-educate in those areas where you were weak, which is basically administrative, does that include accounting and stuff like that? Okay, so did you hire for those positions?
No, I didn't in year one. I did all of it.
You were everything. You did
social media, sales, coaching, programming, everything.
How about now?
I have I use an accounting firm that's like an online that's actually built for gyms. That's been great. Like, I'll plug gymbookkeeping.com. I think is who we use. Mm-hmm. They're very easy, great to work with. That took that off the plate. My team helps with a lot of the social media stuff now. A lot of the other tasks, like now, we started off with 2 coaches. Now I've got technically 7. So being able to hand off other tasks, because even just like things like cleaning and stuff like that, in the beginning,
you're doing it all. That's the way most business owners are in the beginning. They're pretty much doing it all. I think there's some value to that, because that way you're learning every single facet of the business, and you know how to develop the systems. So when you bring somebody else in, you're teaching them your system. So you're familiar with every single facet of your business. So, that's the value of being Mr. Everything or Mrs. Everything at first. So so that was an area that you needed some help in. And you basically, like you said, you self-educated to kind of shore up those areas where you were weak. And I guess the same thing with social media, right? Hey guys and gals, my apologies for interrupting, but I have something I want to share with you. If you want to recession-proof your life and be able to thrive financially in any environment, then I have something for you. It's a blueprint I use for business and life. It's a combination of what I've learned from my mentors and through my own blood, sweat, and tears over the course of 20 years. It contains 5 key principles that will transform and elevate your life and business if you apply them consistently. Believe me, if I had this blueprint 20 years ago, I could have saved myself a lot of time and money, but I'm sharing it with you now for free when you go to www.uncommonlifepodcast.com. You can get yours for free today. How did you school yourself up on social media?
So I was pretty much off the grid. Like I had a Facebook and I only use it because we live away from our families, you know, some friends, and put pictures of the kids up so our grandma and granddads can check it. But now it's like we're constantly on it all the time. My wife hates it because even our videos on our Instagram and Facebook, I do all those from my phone or from the laptop themselves.
Yeah.
Editing stuff and adding music. I like that though. I actually enjoy that part. That's kind of, what was the question on that?
I was asking how you shored up your knowledge on, well, first of all, I was talking about your administrative side, but also we started going into your social media, how you didn't have all the expertise initially when you were opening your business, but then you had to learn. I was kind of trying to figure out where you went. Who was your source for learning about social media? Because there's so much out there about social media. I mean, there's so many voices, but you know, usually they all end up saying some version of the same thing about what you need to do to best give your business the right exposure on social media. So there's just so much out there, you know, you don't even know where to start sometimes.
My sister has a degree in marketing. So she actually runs the social media in Myrtle Beach for Broadway at the Beach, which is all the restaurants and stuff up there, Hard Rock Cafe and all that type of stuff is. So she's like their main social media person. And she was the one that kind of gave me a lot of really good info on ways to boost it and get your stuff out there.
That's one thing I have found. The way it is right now, usually somebody knows or has somebody in their sphere of influence or somebody that they know in some capacity that has knowledge, or a lot of knowledge in the social media realm that they can get, you know, good information from. There's a lot of people out there that are really thriving in that area right now. So
you can spend a lot of money on it. Or, I mean, really what's happened now, and I think that it's changed in the last year or so, you pretty much have to pay to advertise through Facebook and Instagram to really make traction, or it's getting people to like and share. I mean, interactions with posts are what brings it to the top.
What makes it organic. Yeah, organic traction is the best way to go if you can do it. It's just, it takes work. It takes work. It takes asking people to share and stuff like that. So,
and finding the local community stuff. Like here in Columbus, there's a lot of Columbus like yard sale groups and stuff like that. So anytime we run a special, I'm a member at all those groups and I post in those groups, and I actually will post. I will share my business stuff to my personal account and then share from my personal account to those local city things. And before we started doing that, that came from my sister. You know, if we had 500 interactions with a post, we were happy. Now we can get to 4,000 to 5,000 in just a couple of days. That's
a really good tip. So utilize some of the local groups that they have. Like for instance, Columbus, you use what are some of the groups you use in Columbus?
Like Columbus garage sales or Columbus like Facebook sales. Like there's a lot of people that just sell stuff online. Some will let you do business promotion, some won't. Like there's like Stay Healthy and Fit Columbus, Georgia that we will share our stuff to. When this whole coronavirus thing hit, we, through our app that we use for our members, we actually built a home program and we did it for free for anybody, not just our members. And we shared it to those pages, and, you know, we prefaced it with, this is, hey, I know this is from my business, but this isn't for advertising. We literally just want to give something out. So if people want to utilize it, please feel free to. And you got a lot of interaction. So that's one of the ways that we do it through. Facebook's easier to do without, you know, Instagram. You want to tag your people in your business and have it shared to their page, and hopefully you'll get, you know, third-party followers that way.
Is your strategy on social media the same with Facebook and Instagram, or does it differ somewhat?
Ours is somewhat similar in both. I've read and I've talked to other people that believe that your Instagram should be one and your Facebook should be another. A lot of our stuff, we double tap into both.
It makes sense because they're tied together. You can put one form of content in Instagram, and it'll go directly to Facebook. So they're tied together, naturally that way. So it seems to make sense to do that. But
one thing you want with your Instagram that's better, that videos are better on Facebook than Instagram. Instagram's algorithms work by swipes. So the more people that swipe through your photos, the more likely it's actually to hit higher up. And even if they don't like it, but if they like and swipe through it a few times, that will boost it to the top and you'll get more organic interaction. That's why when you log in, sometimes there's always that one post that's always on top. It's like 20 minutes later, you go check it again, and it's still that same post that you're getting at the top of your feed. It's because people are interacting and swiping through the pictures.
So how do you influence the algorithms? What are some of the tips you can give to do that to help?
You can't really, the algorithms you can't really mess with because that's what their source is. We use apps called Scroll, SCRL, I believe is the one. I'm sorry, I'm checking my phone.
Is it free?
I think they have some free and some paid, but it's cheap. They have templates.
What does it do?
Like this one does some stuff where if you have like pictures, and I'm actually showing, you take a picture and to see the whole picture, it forces you to swipe. Mm-hmm. But it adds like different layers and things like that to it so that you can build Instagram stories and things like that. We use Canva, which is like,
I've heard of Canva. Yeah.
Use a lot of Canva for stuff. But like Scroll is really good because when you're looking at it, you can have writing going across it. It basically makes all your 4x3 photos into a banner. So people, when they swipe, it's like one giant banner that they're going across. So they're more likely to, if you have like sentences running across it, like you've got to swipe to see it more. And that's one way that we notice that those do get a lot of interaction.
Okay, and you use Canva as one of the apps that you use for that to help
photo editing and stuff like that, or just to build like advertisements and stuff. I mean, you can pay a lot of money and do it through like marketing firms and stuff like that, and third party where you're sending stuff and waiting, or you can just learn how to do it yourself and you'd have it the way that you want it to look. Because as a business, you kind of have a theme. Our colors are scarlet and gray, that scarlet red, that black and gray and white.
Scarlet and gray. That's Ohio State colors, isn't it? Buckeye colors?
Yeah. Being in the South, it's not crimson, it's scarlet.
It's okay with me, but here, that's probably not going to go over well as a whole, but it's worked for you okay so far.
Yeah, we just wanted a good, I like that burgundy-ish red, that deeper red, not fire truck, but you want those tones, so a lot of your advertisements and stuff run the same. Like, if for yours it's green and yellow, so you want those because that associates. People see that they recognize that and they go, oh, that's launch. In
this city, they know that as launch for sure.
Yep.
So Facebook, Instagram, I'm fascinated by social media and how people use it. So, but you use Facebook and Instagram. What other social media do you use most?
Well, we will use Twitter.
Yeah.
I personally don't. I'm not a big tweeter on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not either.
But our followers, we don't have a very big following on Twitter, like 500 or so. Like we use that more to announce our high school athletes for like camps and combines and stuff like that. It's grown recently. We have some stuff that we have done with it that's helped. And we've partnered with like Recruit Georgia, they've got 50,000 followers. Well, not they, it's one guy, but Dave has a huge following with that. Playbook Athlete Sports, we have a relationship with their company and they will actually use us. They actually did a story on one of my kids. They sent me a questionnaire about him. I fill it all out. I go to their website a couple of days later. I get a link from the parent of that kid. And it was basically my questionnaire was their whole entire story. Like they copied and pasted out. I sent their guy that runs Playbook Athlete, like, do I get some credit for that? Like he put my name on it and stuff, but they wrote a paragraph and then everything else was verbatim what I'd sent to him. I was like, that's awesome.
Well, so what else do you use do you use any kind of email marketing or anything like that?
Not really anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's getting to a point where there's so much junk email every day that people get that it's just not. We did Constant Contacts. I did it in Cincinnati 10 years ago. I think it was really effective. I think now because of social media, a lot of those other marketing schemes have kind of died off.
But the only thing about that is when you have an email database, you own that traffic. That means you don't have to pay for advertisements on Facebook, Instagram, any of that kind of stuff. That's one thing I like about email marketing is the fact that you own that traffic. If Facebook changed their rules all of a sudden, you could lose all of your followers just like that. I've heard people where that's happened to them.
Sure.
So that's the only thing about that there's definitely you get a lot of value from Facebook. It's so much cheaper now to market your business than it used to be. It gives people that are just starting out a much better chance to get their business off the ground and kind of hit that escape velocity that's so hard to do, because the traditional marketing can be so expensive. But now it's been a game changer for a lot of startups.
I think a lot of it has to do with what type of clientele you're bringing into.
Yeah.
Like being in here and like this facility, getting people to come back each time. And it's also the business model. Like it probably is more effective for that for you, because you can send out specials and promos and things like that, where we can too, but our members are paying one time that month, and we want them there as much as possible, where they're not paying any more each time they walk in through the door.
Yeah.
So if we had more of that type of model, like we can run some promos, and we've done some stuff before, but we just didn't. I mean, you can check the open rates on a lot of stuff now. We just didn't see, for us, I think that's just a part of our industry now too. It's kind of trended that way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
I think, if you go into a local ice cream parlor and you want to get a 2-for-1 special, that's an easy email that will drive revenue and bring in. But if our members come back in, they're not necessarily spending more money each time they come in.
Yeah.
They're paying for that membership to have access.
Right.
Is our model. And that's why I think it's harder for us to drive new types of revenue off stuff like that, where social media puts it out to people that we don't have in already or don't know about us. And that's why we spend a lot more time in that aspect of it.
All right. So that's the end of part 1. Now, coming up in part 2, we go into some really cool stuff about their training philosophy, because they train pro athletes and special ops guys. And we talk about the focus at that level is more on the minimum effective dose, and also a heavy focus on recharging and longevity instead of, wearing your body down. And this can be applied to business as well. So there's a lot of good stuff if you're an entrepreneur. We also talk about listening to your customers, which I know is a recurring theme, but it's so important, and good information there. And also we talk about the downside of having too many goals. So once again, it's good information. I think you will get a lot out of it. So be sure and check it out. Part 2 of my interview with Chasen Perry of Impact Performance RX.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.